Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. It really helps me out if you like, comment, subscribe, and if you would consider purchasing from one of my sponsors in the description. Thanks a bunch.
Hey everyone, today's episode is brought to you by Roll-Tru scale models, in particular Roll-Tru's line of precision-made HO scale wheels. Roll-Tru's precision wheels are made out of turned brass, each one turned individually and then blackened. This allows for the truest rolling wheel and the smoothest rolling wheel. Currently these wheels come in American freight sizes, that's 33-inch wheels, and they come in both short and long axle. And they also come in IHC, AHM, and Rivarossery replacement sizes. That includes the incredibly small pizza cutter wheels and the standard plastic wheels. Remember Roll-Tru for the truest rolling wheels.
Okay, for those of you who have been watching my Instagram feed or have been watching my YouTube channel for a while, you know that I have several Australian locomotives. This one here is actually made by Lima, but I have some that are actually made by Australian companies. And as I go forward, I'll try to see if I can show them all off, and you can see what fun they are. A lot of them are kind of American derivatives, but they look different and they look kind of quirky. So yeah, here's an Australian derivative of an Alco locomotive pulling an Australian GAN train. These cars are made by Lima, but I also have some that are made by Auscision, being pulled by two NR class GAN locomotives that were made by Austrains. So I have some, and I've got more. I've got some multiple diesel units. I've got a Tangara. I think that's one of my most popular videos, is the Tangara video. So I'm digging in on Australian stuff, and I will as more sort of presents itself to me, and I want to get them in. So fun times. But now I want to talk about the latest Australian acquisition that I am receiving. All right, this adventure begins when I was poking around on the Auscision website, I don't know, sometime in 2018. I think it must have been around 2018, maybe 2019. But either way, I looked and I saw this thing. I'm like, what is that thing? Turns out it is one of two NR class locomotives that are painted with an Indigenous paint scheme. And I'm like, wow, that looks really intricate. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that on a production running locomotive before. Well, I dug through some more of the literature and just dug around also, and I found out these paint schemes were designed by an Aboriginal woman named Bessie Little, who was actually born in the 1920s. Now, she's actually still alive. But at the time, I think it was the very late 90s, 1997, she lived in Alice Springs. You can go and purchase her artwork to this day, or her artwork that's been applied to items such as handbags and clothing, that sort of thing. And most of them have these really intricate, earthy patterns. The first locomotive is NR30, which is Warmi, and Warmi and Kungara Mankurpa actually depict stories that relate to how the stars and constellations were formed. Okay, so when was this supposed to be available? It looked like January 2020 was the original date. Fair enough, January 2020, we all know what happened around then, but I looked at this thing and I'm like, wow, it looks like it's actually going to be a really nice model. Of course, it's going to have a modern 5-pole motor, which is great. Good power pickup, and brass horns, etched mirrors, windscreen. This looks like it's going to be pretty good. Lots of interesting lights, including a fuel tank gauge light? I don't even know what that is. I don't even know if I have a model with a fuel tank gauge light. So fair enough, that I'm looking forward to that. And I went ahead and chose the built-in lock sound decoder. Might as well, I'd have to buy one anyway and program it up myself, and maybe they've got something different going on over there. So that's what I did. That's the option I picked. Figured I might as well go ahead and pre-order and save some money, although a lot of times it seems like you actually don't save money when you pre-order. It seems like it's kind of scammy sometime, but whatever. I went ahead and did that. So I ordered it, and it seems like I just waited and waited and waited until I almost forgot that I had ordered these. Well, in August of 2020, which is now, several months after it's due, Auscision models came out with an announcement saying these will be ready by November, early December. So I'm almost a year delayed at this point. But I noticed that November, December came and went. Okay, in this interval, I have to admit, I wasn't even sure if I had paid for these things, or if I ordered it, or if it was some sort of a dream, or if Auscision was trying to take my money. I had no idea. Okay, so Auscision finally makes an announcement on September 13, 2022. Yes, that's right, over 2 years since the previous announcement, which was an announcement that already indicated about a 1-year delay. So finally, these things have arrived September 13th, 2022. So it turns out the pre-order and save money turned into a pre-order or else directive. That's right, they completely sold out. Probably not surprising given all this time that people have been waiting for them and the limited numbers that they made. Now, I think I read in a newsletter or something that actually these things were such a pain to paint that they just aren't going to make these things anymore. This is it. This is going to be the only run of HO Indigenous liveries for NR. So maybe they'll change their mind in the future, but who knows? Now, if you decide that you really like these things, it seems like SDS Models of Australia also made this pair, and if I read their website right, there still are some in stock. And if the website's accurate, you'll be able to buy the 2 powered versions. You just won't be able to buy the unpowered versions. No idea. It's September 2022. Best of luck. Okay, well, thanks to the fact that I live up and over instead of down and under, it took a little while for these to get to me, and I had to wait for it to clear through customs and everything. And I went ahead and got it just a few weeks later. In fact, I didn't even technically get it till October. But there we are. Look at the cool box. You can tell which one you have pretty easily thanks to the graphics on the box, and I went ahead, like I said, and got the DCC sound equipped version. Here's the other one, and what I will do here is I'll unbox this for you, but then I will do a very, very detailed walk around so that you can see how intricate these are. Of course, I guess I didn't know while I was unboxing these how intricate it would be, but I was pretty sure they did a good job. All right, nice parts list. Very cool. Definitely look like a pretty detailed and intricate model. Lots of separately applied pieces going on here, which will look very good, I'm sure. This will be very prototypical. And it looks like there's a 21 pin, or maybe it's a Plux decoder. I'm not sure. I'm not going to take this apart since I don't have to, since I bought the one that already included DCC, so I'm not worried about that. Let's take a look at I guess this is the manual. Yes, sure enough, and it has all the features that I already pointed out. Very, very cool. And yeah, looks like they didn't skimp since they announced it. Yep, there's safety notice, all that. That's all wonderful. Sounds good. Should be pretty much a typical model pre-lubed. You don't have to worry about that. Here is the function list. And one thing you might notice is there's actually kind of a dearth of sounds. There's not a ton of sounds, which to me, to be honest, is fine. The only sounds I ever really use are, the motor, obviously, prime mover, the bell, if there is one, and there is in fact one here, and the horn. And that's about it. That constitutes 99.8% of my use. All the other stuff I'm not too worried about. So here we go. Looks like there are a lot of options for the lights. I don't need to install DCC since it's already on there. So yeah, I think, okay, well, let's go ahead and actually unbox these. One thing that was really quirky about this is the outer sleeve around the clamshell here is really tight. It was really tight. I was kind of scared to push on it too much, so I had to do it really carefully, but it was super duper tight. All right, here is the thing itself, and I'm going to try the best I can to capture how lovely this looks, but I'm just not sure if it's possible through any kind of video recording medium to show you how absolutely awesome this is. And look, Auscision, they give you guys, like they're convicts, I guess, because they're dressed in orange, so I guess they use convicts to drive trains in Australia. That's not surprising given its history in replacing some of our colonies as the prison colony for England. All right, so get this one out of here, same deal. Again, this outer sleeve was super tight. I was really careful with it. There you go. Our two convict buddies are driving this thing. Very cool. And let me pull the foam out of here, and I will talk briefly about this, but what I'll think I'll do is I will actually just sort of hish up for a little bit and see if I can take some really detailed video of the paint scheme on here and just show it. If you don't want to watch it, that's fine. You can skip it, but I think it'll be worth seeing. So let's get this last piece of foam out of there. Get these last two out of there. I'm being so careful not to touch the paint because it's so beautiful. And look at that. That is incredible, and I can understand why it took so long and why they don't want to do this or can't do this or just unwilling to do this again. Let me do a quick walk around here where we can see the MU cable and all of the air compressor hoses coming off of this. Very nice. And what's nice is I didn't have to install any of these. Thank goodness. I can always get behind that. And by the way, those little round grill things are actually the ditch light covers, so that's pretty nifty. I don't know if I've seen that before. Usually the ditch lights are exposed. You can see that the ladders there on the side, even the foot rungs. If we move over to the side, you can see that the paint and decaling is pretty good. I can almost read what that thing says on the smaller print. Work around to the trucks. Again, we can see that, I guess those are the brake chains. I can never figure out what the chains are that are hanging off trucks, but you can see they've done a great job. We've got the sand hoses there. Move over to the fuel system. That little square is where the fuel light will be, and I assume that this is some sort of fuel hookup or something like that. Go to the back, same thing, the Katie style coupler on the back, all the different hoses coming off of it, and the electrical MU hookup. Again, the ditch lights are behind those little grates. If we look, the windshield wipers are some of the best I've seen. Usually too chunky and thick. In reality, they'd be as big or bigger than your hand, but these ones are nice and dainty and thin. And you can see they actually have the texturing. And if we look, there is a cab interior as well. Bravo, just truly wonderful. Only Chinese companies I've seen have outdone this so far. Again, if we go around to the side, you can see the different textures. You can see that, these are anti-slip texturing. Very, very nice here on the foot rungs. We go up. Those are separately added grills that you can see through, and the safety chains on the back are also separately added. Very, very nice. It's hard to complain about any of these little details. Here look at the chains again, coming across the back. I love how they hang down and they look like they're hanging very loose. And if you want to see, here's one of the add-on actual vents, and this one's painted just like it is in real life, but you can see that it's slight texturing. The paint didn't glob up. Now on Warmi here in real life, the grate was painted, but if you noticed, it wasn't painted with the texture. But the waves still continued through. Very nice catch for them that they did this. All right, I haven't done this kind of thing before, and I know a lot of you might skip this, but just in case any of you are as impressed by this model or these models as I am actually going to walk around both and show you them each in detail. So I've given you a chapter if you want to skip over this, but for the rest of you, I hope you enjoy. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the coupler height. Let's plop these on, and it's a little bit high, and in fact, I can kind of see it leaning upwards from the body. But it's definitely a little bit high. I guess, well, okay, a little bit high. I can see the front one leaning upwards also. Look at that angle. If it wasn't angled up, it may not be so high. Let's check the other locomotive. It has the same problem. They all, except this one's not coupling very well. They have kind of the same problem here, and they look like they're all angled upwards slightly. Do you see that? And that, well, I don't, even if it wasn't angled up, well, it would be close, much closer. So I don't know what happened. The same thing here. Just a slight angle up. This one's not as bad, and as you can see, it's not as bad in the angle upward, and therefore it's just not quite as high. So that's kind of a weird flaw. You know what? Let's go ahead and check the cars. If we put another car from Auscision up there, one that this is actually going to pull and check it, well, it's perfect, actually. Everything's fine. So let's flip it around and see what happens. And I think, well, let's see. So, you know, it's just a tiny bit. Actually, my coupler gauge is a slight bit down, so it's pretty much spot on also. Not sure what's going on there. Here's the crawl. I had one step out of 128, and look at that. And this is a combination of the gearing. It seems like it's geared really low. Of course, that's a freight locomotive, so that's not surprising. And also the fact that they use ESU lock sound, which just seems to be better overall, particularly out of the box without any modifications on slow speed response. So that is an absolutely beautiful crawl. And just as an aside note, these were pretty much speed matched right out of the box. In fact, they were so close, I didn't even bother to speed match them at all. So really, really good crawl. And like I said, they're both like this. I'm not going to put them both up there. One of the quirkier things I read off earlier was the fuel tank light, and there it is. There's one on each side. The one on the engineer side is in the front, and the one on the conductor side is in the back. Okay, there are numerous lighting functions, so let's go ahead and go through them, and I'll just talk a little bit about some of the things you might be able to do to make this easier on yourself. F0 turns on your headlight, no shock there. F1 is your ditch lights, and they are on until you press the horn button, and then they cycle through with grade crossing logic. F23 turns on the front number boards. F25 turns on the front white marking lights. F27 turns on the front red marking lights. If you have F0 on and you reverse the direction, then the long hood headlights will come on. And if you have F1 on and you're in reverse, the long hood ditch lights will come on, and they will cycle through logic when the horn is played. F24 turns on your rear number boards. F26 handles your rear white markers, and F28 handles the rear red markers. Now, if you looked, all these things can be on at once, and that's probably not what you want. So they've given you a bit of help here. Now, if you don't want to turn all these on, turn all these off, then you can use F7 and F9, which are supposed to give you some sort of logical help. To be honest, I couldn't quite figure out what was going on, and the instructions that came with it point you to another instructional document, which I could never find. So I eventually said, F it, and I just went ahead and changed the logic myself. So that was a lot easier, and if you have a lock programmer, that's something you can do, no problem. Okay, let's go ahead and go through the functions. Now, there actually aren't a lot of them for what it's worth.
Let me go ahead and run this up for you, and then in the middle, when it's going the fastest, I'll mute the sound so you can hear what this sounds like, just the drive itself. Here we go. And by the way, the reason I didn't play a lot of the sounds is a lot of them are only available while this thing's running, so I just wasn't going to worry a whole lot about that.
Of course, I'm going to need a consist to run with this, so I actually already had one lying around for a rainy day, and it is this Great Southern consist. So I know that these two never pulled this consist because I'm pretty sure these have been painted back to some sort of operating normative livery. And this service only inaugurated really recently, within the last 2 years, I think. So there is no way that these actually pulled it, but like usual, I don't care. Now I do have a GAN consist, but I want those to be pulled by my GAN locomotives. So let's take a look through here. They give me a bunch of literature, really nice. I'll have to dig through this later. Of course, I own some of this stuff already, so I'm not sure. They gave me a whistle. Gave me a whistle. I mean, it's actually cool. There's a nice lanyard. I might keep. Why do I get a whistle? Okay, well, that's cool. I get a whistle. Yeah, everyone needs a good whistle now and again, right? All right, so here is the bulk of the consist. Let's get this out of here. And again, I assume they sold me a consist that works. Although, why I bought that extra sleeper, I'm not sure. Why did it show up? Oh, okay, we've got long couplers just in case these are going to be too close together, I think. So that's actually a nice touch. They're very nice couplers. Even if I don't use them on these cars, they'll be fine. Okay, here is the power car. And if I remember, the power car and the baggage car have end of train lights on them, or end of train markers. They're controlled by a dip switch at the bottom. Let's see. Yes, there are 2 dip switches, and I'll have to go through those here in a minute so you can see what they do. But generally, I think I'm going to let these tail the train. Obviously,
the Indigenous livery units aren't going to provide head-end power. In fact, from what I can tell, I think I've said this before, but they're basically Dash 9s packaged up slightly differently. So they won't provide any power, so they're going to need a power car to do that instead. All right, we'll go through each one of these. Now, these are the same cars, from what I can tell, that's in my GAN consist. I think they're the same molding because these are what they use in Australia. And I think they're actually made by Bud, or they're licensed by Bud, but they're shorter. Look at that. All these little, I don't know what those little pieces are, but they're falling off all over the place. This one has kind of a nice Geordie LaForge window. I'm not sure why. Yeah, so here's another one of those things. Not sure why some of these have the long black windows and some don't. If anyone's really familiar with Australian consists and passenger cars, I would love to know the reason for that. I don't know if some are newer and they just decided to put a window across the whole thing. I don't know. Either way, here we go. Here's the baggage car. Yep. You'll see all these. And look at all those little tiny things that fell off. There's no way I'm going to go look for those and try to put those back. So, interesting. Here is the add-on set for that. Now I'm curious. I'm going to have to actually go look up the consist. I get why I have the main pack and then this add-on pack, but why in the world did I buy this one extra car? Does anybody know why I might have done that? It's been so long. This thing's been sitting around for so long. I don't remember anymore necessarily why I bought this thing. Why did I need one extra car? I don't know, maybe just rounded it out or something and it made it so that it was closer to some $100 mark. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's not like I'm going to return it all the way to Australia. I have this extra car and I don't know why. It's not like it isn't cool, but doggone, this is bugging me now. This is going to bug me forever. Why did I buy one extra passenger car? I don't know. Hopefully someone will know and they'll be able to help me out.
Okay, this was a really fun one. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Yeah, what a just a neat pair of models this is. All right, well, let's talk about the things I like. Firstly, how can you not absolutely love the graphics? Oh my goodness. If there's any reason to own a locomotive, even though you don't model the time period or the road or anything, or even the country, boy, just getting these for the paint job would be worth it. Even beyond that, these are just really well detailed. The see-through grills, the hoses up front, the anti-slip, great, everything. Oh my goodness, it's wonderful, and it's a huge step up from the Aus trains and our class locomotives that I have. The running gear and the mechanics in general are excellent in these models. They're obviously quiet. If you didn't listen or not listen to the models running at full speed, you can see that. You can see the slow crawl. The gearing is a bit low, so if you want, for whatever reason, these trains to go really fast, these may not be the ones for you, but I think everything is just about right. These models were the figurative unicorns. I've never had two models, even if they're from the same manufacturer, same make, even the same exact model. I've never had them speed synchronize right out of the box. It usually takes me a little while. Even though, say, I have two Athearn Genesis, they still won't be perfectly speed synchronized out of the box. These were. I didn't have to do anything. It just shows that the quality control was excellent, the thought behind it, and I'm sure the low gearing had something to do with that. Don't get me wrong, there's just some built-in natural consistency, but overall I couldn't have been more impressed with everything that I saw with these models and the mechanics and the quality control. In the obverse, there's always a little bit of room for improvement, and that's no different here. The speakers in this are pretty mid and treble heavy. There's just not a lot of bass, and you may be thinking, well, it's an HO scale model, it's not going to have a lot of bass. That's not true. I actually have a lot of models where there's a lot of bass. The speaker design was much better in those, therefore the lower frequencies show up. This is one of the model's weaknesses. Everything's pretty trebly, and because of that, the volume just doesn't seem as full. Yeah, I mean, there's something lacking there, and they're going to have to work on their speaker box design or their airflow a little bit better in order to improve on that. The other thing is that the lighting options weren't particularly straightforward. I think that logic option they give you is supposed to handle most of that, but I'm not really sure that it did. I wish there was an easier way to either remap this for you or something so that you don't have to fiddle about and figure out all the different buttons that need to go on for the particular lights. It's easy for me to do with Lock Programmer, but it won't be for the average person. So I guess, you can use that option they gave you, but it's not the best thing in the world. Also, maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't see if there was a DCC way to shut off that fuel light, or the fuel lights or not. Maybe it's just me, but it would seem like that would be one more thing you would want to give the operator the option to do. And lastly, I'm not sure what's up with the couplers. That was really weird. They're all tilted up. It seems like it might be a minor design flaw where if you tighten the couplers down too much, it'll start pushing them up at an angle as dictated by the pressure put onto them by the screw. Not sure, didn't mess with it. If it becomes a problem when I'm pulling, I'll go ahead and change those out with offset couplers, or maybe I can see what's going on. But yeah, it's something to consider, if you have problems with decouplings. Well, I appreciate you being here with me to share this. I was really amazed when I opened the box, and the more I get into this hobby, the more these kind of surprises happen to me. There's always something for me to fix on where I say, wow, this is amazing, and these two locomotives have amazing in spades. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. If you like what you see and this helps you in any way, this brings any kind of joy to your life, I would really appreciate it if you would like, and if you would comment, and it really, really helps me if you subscribe, and if you check back in once in a while, you can hit the bell. That will really help you do that. I really enjoy this hobby, but I like it even more when I can share it with everybody, and I hope I've done a good job of that today. So if you get a chance, please check out my sponsors in the description. That also helps me out quite a bit. If you'll hang on for a second after I stop yammering, you'll get a running session. I always hope you enjoy those. As always, I wish you happy model railroading, and hey, I hope to see you again soon. Take care out there, stay safe, talk to you next time. Bye for now.